Obadiah is where we are picking up today, Obadiah. Obadiah is a very short book, and it's towards the end of the Bible, and it's very few verses. So I'm going to start in verse 10. We're going to read down through verse 14. We'll give some context, give some history, give some examples, and then we'll continue to read throughout. There's actually a lot of different verses today because we're going to look at a big, long picture that takes place, but we'll start in Obadiah verse 10. Because of the violence done to your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you. You shall be cut off forever. On the day that you stood aloof, on the day that strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, you were like one of them. But do not gloat over the day of your brother. In the day of his misfortune, do not rejoice over the people of Judah in the day of their ruin. Do not boast in the day of distress. Do not enter into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Do not gloat over his disaster in the day of his calamity. Do not loot his wealth in the day of his calamity. And do not stand at the crossroads to cut off his fugitives. Do not hand over his survivors in the day of distress. All right, so there's a lot happening here. How many of you have an older brother or a younger brother? Oh, okay, good. My older brother loves to fight. Like, loved it. Like, growing up, my older brother really enjoyed. He was about twice my size. I looked like Chicken Little when I was like 12. And when I was 18, I looked 12, which it worked to my favor because now that I'm 42, I look 42. Somehow that, it didn't like parallel. He loved to fight. And so my brother would get these gloves, these leather mittens. Now, we don't really wear mittens here, but in the UP, in the middle of winter, you need mittens to go do chores. So we got deer skin mittens one year for Christmas, and they were fur lined. And my brother decided, you know what? These are perfect for me and you to have a boxing match. And I knew exactly how the boxing match was going to go. And I was like, I don't want to have a boxing match. And he's like, we're going to have a boxing match. I don't want to. My brother then said, we're either going to have a boxing match or you're going to stand there and I'm going to punch you in the face. Let's do a boxing match, right? So we got these gloves on. We were in our furnace room of our house because that was the room furthest away from mom and dad. And he's like, all right, let's do this. And I'm like, look, here, what's going to happen is you're going to get mad at me at some point because I'm going to get lucky and actually make contact. And then you're just going to start swinging. I won't get mad. I won't get mad. I'm like, you're going to get mad. No, I won't get mad. Like, when you get mad, don't just go crazy. I'm not going to get mad. I promise I won't get mad. Like, we just had this long conversation. First 10 seconds, I got a lucky punch in, and he just started flailing at me. His face turned beet red, and he pounded on me. Week goes by, we're having another boxing match. I'm like, I don't want to have a boxing match with you. This happened over and over and over, and until I finally cried loud enough for my dad to come in and be like, what is happening? Why are you beating on your brother? He had pinned me to the ground and was just punching me in the face. Brothers can be the person who fights you the most. But one time we were playing a flag football game, and our safety had an interception, and our safety was running it back into the end zone. And you're not really allowed to block much in flag football, so I was just running down the field trying to get in the way, and I was really small and thin, so it didn't really do much. I certainly did not do enough to actually anger this guy enough to do what happened next. But our guy got into the end zone, and he got in the end zone, and I stopped at the 1 yard line and started trying to catch my breath. And one of the biggest guys from the other team just all of a sudden hit me square in the back and just sent me like flying into the end zone. And I will never forget, I like landed in the end zone. I'm laying on my stomach. I look over. My brother has taken his helmet off, and he's just hitting this guy with his helmet, just decking him. Brothers will fight you, but they will also fight for you. But Obadiah here, he's talking to these people called the Edomites, and he's like, hey, your brother nation was just conquered and destroyed, and you did nothing about it. You didn't bother to warn them. You didn't bother to help them. In fact, you stood afar off and you started to laugh at them. And then after you laughed at him for a while, you thought, I could actually financially profit off this. So when their survivors started to flee to your lands, you said, yeah, here, come on, we'll help you. And then you collected them all and you sold them as human slaves. And that's your brother country. Brothers are supposed to be the ones who fight for you. They also fight with you, but they're always the first one to fight for you. So what is happening here? Well, the Edomites refuse to help the children of Jacob because all the way back in Genesis chapter 25, Jacob and Esau are born. And Jacob and Esau are twin brothers, and they come out the womb fighting. And Esau is much more physically dominant, and he's pretty much able to have his way, but Jacob figures this out, and he begins to manipulate situations and trick and lie and deceive and manipulate to get what he wants. So eventually, if you know the story, Jacob and Esau part ways, they hate each other, they go their separate ways, but then Esau and Jacob reunite, and they're brothers and they're friends. But this memory lives on with Esau and with all of his descendants, so much so that 450 years later, the children of Israel are in a lot of trouble. They have been slaves to the Egyptians for a long time. God sends someone named Moses, and Moses frees them from the people who have them, and they get ready to escape, and they have a couple of ways to escape. One of them is a longer, more difficult path through a wilderness. And the shorter path is through the land of Edom, in which are Esau's descendants, and therefore their relatives. But look at Numbers chapter 20. Numbers chapter 20, verse 14. Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardships we have met, how our fathers went down to Egypt, and we lived in Egypt a long time. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and our fathers. When we cried to the Lord, he heard our voices and sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. And we are here in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not pass through field or vineyard, or even drink water from a well. We will go along the king's highway. We will not turn aside to the right or to the left until we have passed through your territory. But Edom said to him, you shall not pass through, lest I come out with the sword against you. The people of Israel said to him, we will go up by the highway, and if we drink of your water, I and my livestock, then I will pay for it. Let me only pass through on foot, nothing more. But he said, you shall not pass through. He's like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. And Edom came out against them with a large army and a strong force. Thus, Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory, so Israel stayed away from him. Now, I want to point out, this is 450 years later. And Esau's descendants are still angry and bitter. In fact, what has happened is they have rehearsed the stories of Jacob and Esau so long that the tragedy and the trauma they experienced has become their identity. It is no longer something that happened to Esau. This is who we are. We are superior to Jacob and his children because we didn't lie. We didn't steal. We didn't cheat. We did things the hard way, the old-fashioned way, the right way, and this has become who they are at this point. Fast forward another 860 years. And Obadiah says, hey, your brother was just attacked by an evil army, and they absolutely destroyed him, and you did nothing to help your brother. God's plan for Jacob and Esau was for them to be brothers, and so that they could work beside each other, help each other, and when one was in need, the other could come, when they could work back and forth in a symbiotic relationship. And instead what happens is the descendants of Esau have identified by the tragedy for so long that they have taken pride in who they are, and they have now this sense of superiority over them, so that when the children of Israel are captured, they're like, ha, look at them. Who do they think they are? Serves them right. Do you remember 1,200 years ago when they did this? Think about this is like me being mad at one of you because your ancestor on the Mayflower did something to my ancestor. That's the timeline. They have become very, very proud. Point number 1 in your listening guide: pride will deceive you. Pride will deceive you. They have taken so much pride in who they are. Yeah, we are the children of Esau. We're not Jacob. At least we don't do this. That they have become deceived. Not only are they deceived in that they should be helping their brother, but instead they're financially profiting off of his slavery, but they're also deceived in thinking that they're safe. Because their pride now knows no limits. So they look at what happens to the children of Jacob and they're like, yeah, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, all these guys are taking them. They can't take us. We live in a hilly country. So did they. We'll be all right. We got hills. So did they. And soon they are almost completely destroyed. Because pride is deceptive. Pride deceives us. Pride deceives them. Look at Obadiah verse 3. The pride of your heart has deceived you who live in the clefts of the rocks, in your lofty dwellings, who say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? They falsely believe that they are doing good by not helping their brother, and they falsely believe that they are safe because of pride. And we could look at them, and we could read that and be like, man, shame on them. Well, we don't do that. Let's go. But pride deceives us too. Pride deceives us as a nation. We name an entire month after it. We celebrate it. We rejoice in a word that is a deceitful word that destroys the people that are taken by it. We actually celebrate it more than the veterans who died for our country. We celebrate pride more than the people who serve our country. We give a whole month to a word that is deceitful and destructive, and one day, really half a day, to the people who are buried for humbly serving our country. This is not new, by the way. This is the exact same pattern that happened to the Roman Empire when it began to collapse too. Pride deceives us as a nation, but it also deceives us individually. Pride deceives you, and it deceives me, and it does it all the time. Because what we can do is we can sit in a church and say, yeah, we're not like them, while being deceived by pride too. Pride is a deceiver. So we say things like, well, at least I'm not so-and-so, I'm not so-and-so. At least I didn't do this, which is exactly what the children of Edom did. Well, at least I may be, but I'm not this. Well, at least I'm not doing. It's so deceptive that we change the name of it. We turn pride into anxiety, into insecurity, into confidence, into hustle. Whatever we want to rename it, it's still pride. So how do we know if we're being deceived by it? Well, if you're alive, you're being deceived by it at times. But a really good way to indicate whether you're struggling and being deceived by pride is it revealed not in our success or our failure, because we've learned how to be certain ways in success and in failure. We get a promotion and we've learned to be humble in the promotion. We learn how to be humble in our defeats. Pride is really revealed in the success or failures of others. In fact, I would say this, that how you respond when others succeed or fail reveals what's happening in your soul. How you respond when others succeed or fail reveals what is happening in your soul. How well can you handle others being praised in front of you? How well can you handle others on your team being complimented or thanked for something and you're not thanked? How well can you handle the success of somebody else in your same line of work? How well can you handle the success of somebody who you viewed as a high school rival? How well can you handle a person on your team getting, hey man, we're so grateful, you do so many great things, and the whole time you're thinking, well, you thinking me? They don't thank me once. They thank them twice. You got a list of how many times other people get complimented. Pride is deceiving you. How well can we handle the success? Think about like someone succeeds and so you give them a compliment that also cuts them down so that it's like, that's a nice promotion for you. You worked here a long time. I mean, I got a promotion in 6 months. You've been here 6 years. It's about time they gave one to you. It's pride. It's pride. In fact, it goes so far in our deception that we can't even pick friends based off whether they have it more together or not than us. Because if they have it more together than us, then they're not our people. But if we can help them, that's my friend. We build entire relationships off of the deceitfulness of pride that tells us I only pick people I can help to welcome into my life. But if I need helped by them or perceive that I need help by them, I don't want them in my life. So we can be friends with a couple that is about the same, but the couple that seems to have it more together by us, by the way, they're being deceived just like we are. We can't pick those people. How do we respond when people fail? The children of Edom laughed at their failures. The Bible says your pride has deceived you. Why? Because when they saw them being destroyed, they were like, yeah, I knew this was coming. They deserve this. I always knew it. When someone fails publicly, I always knew this about them. I knew that they'd be. How well do you handle the success or the failures of others reveals what's going on in our soul? And I will be very honest, this is not just out there, we're preaching to the world. It's not just in here preaching to you guys. It's something I have to have consistently because it's easy to be deceived by pride when you stand on a stage and say, here's what we all hear. It's easy. But pride is so deceitful that it destroyed the Edomites. And pride is so deceitful that it destroys us because point number 2 in your listening guide, pride will destroy you. Pride will destroy you. What's the big deal? It's just pride. Big deal. Well, pride destroys entire nations. Pride destroys states and cities and communities and families and individuals and me. And you. It destroys relationships. Everything pride enters in is destroyed by it. It is the ultimate destructive force. And it's not just something that the lost world deals with. It's something that you and I have to fight each and every day. We have to wake up. Paul said, I have to die daily. Now, this is the Apostle Paul, who plants all these churches, does all these incredible things, gets bitten by a poisonous snake, shakes it off into a fire. He's just this baller. And Paul's like, if I don't want to be deceived and destroyed by pride, I have to die to myself every day. Pride will destroy you. You know who Obadiah reminds me of? Obadiah reminds me of Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash, the man in black, he had this song, You Can Run On For a Long Time. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody who can sing on key, sing it with me. You can run on for a long time. Sooner or later, God will cut you down. You know what Obadiah is saying to the Edomites? You've been running on a long time. You've been running your mouth too while you're doing it. You've had over 1,200 years of running your mouth. Someday you're going to get yours. You got yours. And Obadiah comes to him like the man in black, and he's like, you can run on for a long time. Tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, sooner or later God will cut you down. Pride will destroy us. It destroyed Israel. They could have been helped. It also destroyed Edom, the person that could have helped them. Pride destroys us when we're proud towards other people. It destroys them when we're proud towards them. It destroys everybody it encounters. In fact, Pride destroyed an angel who stood in front of the presence of God and was supposed to direct worship to the presence of God through him, but he couldn't handle the worship not coming to him. And so when he got a taste of worship given to him rather than through him to God, he turned inward and said, "This is what I want for myself." And it destroyed him and has been destroying ever since. Pride will destroy. Yeah, but my thoughts, it's just internal. I don't actually ever sell people into slavery. I don't do those things. Those people are bad. I'm not. Point number 3 in your listening guide. Internal pride leads to external evil. Internal pride leads to external evil. If you read back through, I highly recommend you read this week. If you read back through verses 10 through 14, it begins by them just being apathetic towards the destruction of their brothers. Oh, my brother nation's under attack. Too bad. We could help. We're not going to. But Voltaire said every man is guilty of all the good that he did not do. Another man who's a lot smarter was named Jesus. He said, to him that knows good and doeth it not, to him it's sin. Pride often takes on this apathy of you reap what you sow. You dealt deceitfully. I'm going to let you reap what's going on. I'll stand here and sit back. But then you'll notice, if you continue on verses 10 through 14, they're apathetic, but then they begin to rejoice over the fall of Israel. They begin to rejoice over them. They deserve this. They begin to celebrate. Do we gloat when others are brought low? Do we work to bring them down in others' eyes? Do we consistently try to tear someone down, lift another person up to tear them down? Do we work because of pride to lower people in the opinions of others? Well, they're a threat to me, so I'm going to lower them in those people's opinions so that they... Internal pride leads to external actions. But finally, they take advantage of it. They begin to rush in to point out. And they begin to rush in to take advantage. They begin to rush in. But point number 4 in your listening guide, God gets the final word. God gets the final word. This is an incredible story. Edom mocks. Edom takes advantage of. Edom even begins to profit off of the destruction of Israel. Then Edom gets attacked. Edom nearly gets destroyed. You don't really hear about them for a long time. But something happens. The Roman Empire comes along. And the Roman Empire then takes over Israel. And now the Roman Empire is ruling and it's reigning. And it needs a puppet king. And so what the Roman Empire does is it says, hey, we got this guy. He's not an Israelite. He's an Edomite. They're related to each other. So we'll put the Edomite on the throne. This man's name is King Herod. He comes into power through deceitfulness. He comes into power with the intention of lording over the people. Oh yeah, all the way back 2,000 years ago, Jacob got something because, oh yeah, well, watch what I do now. And he craves glory and worship. He wants nothing more than power, but his pride has deceived him. So one day, some people come from the east and they say, hey, you're the puppet king. Introduce us to the real king of Israel. Where is he? And he's like, uh-oh. You know what I'll do? I'll make sure Israel never has a descendant. Because he realizes, I'm a descendant of Esau. If they have a real king, he's a descendant of Jacob, who's my enemy now and not my brother. So I'll just go ahead and eliminate all boys under the age of 2 so they don't even have a future. But the person that he misses, his parents flee into Egypt. And that man's name is Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ comes into this world. He lives in Egypt for a little while, just like the children of Israel did. And then he comes back. And on the way to him coming back and into ruling and reigning over all, Herod decides it's not just enough to kill Jacob's descendants. He also kills his own descendants and his own wife and eradicates Edom from history. There is no Edomite people group left alive because pride deceives and it destroys. But God gets the final word. He was trying to destroy this man. Look at Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, But in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. God gets the final word. You can run on for a long time, and you can be deceived, and you can be all these things that you want to be, but God has this plan. And his plan was to use a descendant of Jacob. And when he needed a brother to protect him, that brother was gone. And so God said, I'll just move on without you. And Jesus comes into the world, and he's not deceived by pride. The Bible says he humbles himself, so much so that he puts on the form of a servant. He serves people. Rather than acting like an arrogant king, he kneels down in the dirt with the sinners. Rather than acting like an arrogant king, he kneels down in the dirt with the wounded. Rather than acting like an arrogant king, he touches people with leprosy and he heals them. And all will someday confess that he is Lord. Because pride did not deceive him nor destroy him. He destroyed pride so that you and I can live for eternity with the Father, who wants nothing more than to protect you from those who have pride and are deceived by it, and wants to work with you to accomplish his divine will in your life, and wants to rescue you from your own sin. But what do we have to do to be rescued from our own sin? We cannot allow pride to deceive us and thus destroy us. So we have to say, God, I recognize that I am a sinner. Oh, I could look around and be like, well, I know this person's a sinner. I know these 7 people in here, they're all sinners. I know what I'm a sinner. And I need you to keep me from destroying myself, because on my own I can do no good thing. So will you save me from my sins? Will you come into my heart, and will you give me freedom from the pride that will deceive and destroy me?